It seems that every 10 years I have a new career or a new life or something new is happening.
Julie Newmar's greatest secret wasn't the patent she filed in 1977 that revolutionized women's clothing. At the age of 91, the original Catwoman is now speaking up about the disastrous attack she covered up, the violent neighbor dispute that lost her millions, and why she mysteriously disappeared while she was at the peak of her celebrity. For 60 years, she has been frightened to tell this story. Julie Newmar came into this world on August 16, 1933, in the City of Angels. Julia Shaleen Newmar was her given name. She had an artistic, performing, and athletic upbringing from the very start. Her dad, Don Newmar, was a lineman in the National Football League in the 1920s and subsequently became the director of LA City College's PE department. Physically, he was powerful and self-controlled. The Ziegfeld Follies were a household name because to Helen Jasmer, her mother. Aside from being a talented performer, she was also well regarded as a showgirl during her day. The Follies' most attractive legs, according to comic Eddie Cantor, were hers. Movement and expressiveness were paramount in Julie's upbringing. She inherited a healthy dose of both discipline and imagination from her parents' careers in athletics and the performing arts, respectively. She grew up in an environment that valued physical fitness, dancing, and music. Additionally, Julie received the distinct cultural influences brought about by her mother's Swedish-French ancestry. She had a brilliant mind, a graceful figure, and an innate will to succeed. She completed high school by the time she was 15 years old. Even while other teens were still contemplating their futures, Julie was already making plans. She and her brother and mother on a cross-European trip that same year. She witnessed the ancient splendor of Italy and the magnificent theaters of Paris, and she was introduced to new forms of music, dance, and painting. Instead of a typical vacation, this one was an immersion into the performing arts. Her sense of style, personal taste, and demeanor were all profoundly affected. It was no minor feat, particularly for someone her age, for her to become a prima ballerina for the Los Angeles Opera when she got home. Ballet demanded mental and physical fortitude in addition to extreme self-control. Julie gave it her all. She honed her abilities with each performance and strengthened her physique with each move. She was laying the groundwork for a career in acting, not only for dancing. However, that was just the start. Because she loved studying so much, Julie attended UCLA to major in classical piano, philosophy, and French. Her intellect was brilliant, and she loved culture. Still, she sensed a stronger tug after only 6 weeks. At the age of 19, she took a daring step out of her comfort zone and dropped out of school, deciding instead that she belonged in the performing arts industry. As a dancer and choreographer, she got a job at Universal Studios. She wasn't only learning to act, she was also learning the ins and outs of filmmaking, choreography, and capturing an audience's attention on screen. Julie Newmar's path to Hollywood began on the dance floor, her graceful and self-assured dancing in cinematic roles before her fame. The character of the Golden Girl, who was painted in gold from head to toe, was one of her most iconic performances in Serpent of the Nile, 1953. The historical epic featured Rhonda Fleming and Raymond Burr as Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Despite her minor part, her radiant beauty left an indelible mark. During that time, she gained valuable expertise in a number of little positions. The same year, she portrayed a dancing assassin in Slaves of Babylon, a role that belies her demeanor. Along with Hollywood greats like Sid Caesar and Fred Astaire, she danced in Bandwagon, a legendary musical. The opportunities to collaborate with A-listers in these jobs were invaluable. She was already dancing and choreographing at Universal Studios when she was 19 years old. She stood out in a crowded field because to her natural ability and self-control. Then, in 1954, there was the timeless musical 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. Among the 7 brides, she portrayed Dorcas. Michael Kidd choreographed the film's famously high-energy dance scenes, and Newmar was the ideal choice to perform them. She clearly belonged on screen. Her every action and moment reflected this. The 1950s was a golden age for musicals made in Hollywood, with hits like Oklahoma and Singin' in the Rain had previously laid the groundwork. They were followed by Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, which also included energetic dance and a compelling plot. Even though Newmar wasn't the main character, her performance demonstrated her exceptional talent. She proceeded to Broadway. She made her stage debut in 1955 as the dancer Vera in the musical Silk Stockings, which also featured Hildegard Neff and Donna Michi. Live performances differed from their cinematic counterparts in that there was no editing or second takes, just the performers, the stage, and the audience. Although it was difficult, she managed to excel. She made her Broadway debut in 1956 in the part that would define her career. Stupefied Jones in the musical Lil Abner, which was adapted from the famous comic strip. Newmar made sure that Stupefied Jones was memorable, even if her character hardly talked. People were raving about her performance even though she was barely on stage for 3 minutes. She embodied the part rather than merely portraying it, earning high accolades from critics. The ever-evolving world of Broadway musicals was the ideal setting for Lil Abner. The tone of Lil Abner was lighter, more comedic and satirical, and Newmar's performance was renowned, setting it apart from productions like My Fair Lady and West Side Story. She was so beloved that her character was sought after again for the 1959 film adaptation of the show. There was more to her theatrical achievement. Playing the role of Katrin Swede, a Swedish temptress in the 1958 film The Marriage Go-Round, was a new challenge for her. Her performance was a mix of charm and humor. She was demonstrating that there was more to her than meets the eye, although she had always been a showstopper. After that, her career-defining achievement occurred when she took home the Tony for Best Featured Actress in a Play. It was a watershed moment. She had gone from being a talented dancer to a famous celebrity. Tony Awards were more than simply a form of public acclaim. They were a symbol of the culmination of everyone's hard work, from supporting parts to dance numbers. She had demonstrated that her acting chops were second to none, and that she could steal the show in any part. Her career kept on rising. She reprised her role as Katrin Swede in the 1961 film adaptation of The Marriage Go-Round, co-starring with Susan Hayward and James Mason. She was equally at home on stage as she was in front of the camera. She could transform whatever setting she was in. In 1963, she appeared as Miss Devlin on The Twilight Zone in the episode Of Late I Think of Cliffordville. The show's surreal and thought-provoking storylines provided the ideal setting for her enigmatic and unsettling charisma. Both the plot and her portrayal of it ensure that her performance will be remembered by fans. Playing a pivotal role in the American road movie Route 66 was another notable acting gig. She had a 2-episode role in 1962 as the vivacious and rich Vicki Russell, who was more than just a pretty face. She defied the conventional gender norms of her day with her charisma, intelligence, and fierce independence. She wasn't there only to be adored. Her early performances proved she was more than skin deep. She could breathe life into any role. Then there was My Living Doll, an underappreciated program. It ran from 1964 to 1965 and was based on a funny and futuristic concept. Rhoda, a realistic android created to be the ideal lady, was performed by Newmar. Her portrayal of the role was elegant and mesmerizing rather than robotic and unfeeling. She had a convincingly abnormal gait because to her training in ballet and mime. James T. Aubrey, president of CBS, cast her for the part because he knew she could elevate it, and she certainly did. Her endearing portrayal of Rhoda captivated spectators with her combination of innocence and humor. The program ran into some trouble, though. It was scheduled to air at the same time as Bonanza, one of the most popular series on television, which harmed its ratings. Afterwards, her co-star Bob Cummings quit the show after 21 episodes, citing personal problems, including rumored addiction, as his reason. The program would have fallen apart without him. A devoted fan base persists in spite of My Living Doll's brief run. As evidence of her talent for making characters come to life, Newmar gave a memorable performance by giving depth to a role that could have been one-dimensional. The part that truly cemented her status as a legend, Batman, came in 1966. When she took the stage as Catwoman, she gave the role a fresh spin. Catwoman went from being a generic comic book villain to a cultural phenomenon once she appeared. Prior to being cast, Newmar was completely unfamiliar with the character of Catwoman. However, the moment she realized the role's potential, she understood just how to portray it. She managed to make the character charming, humorous, and full of surprises. Her connection with Adam West's Batman was palpable. The two actors captivated spectators with their playful tension in every moment they shared. People wanted to see more of her, and she wasn't only an enemy for Batman. Due to its immense popularity, Newmar's portrayal of Catwoman served as an inspiration for all later adaptations. The groundwork was laid, and other actresses such as Michelle Pfeiffer and Anne Hathaway added their unique stamp to the part. She gave Catwoman personality, humor, and charisma, elevating her from villain to hero. Her influence went well beyond what she did on stage. She even made some alterations to the outfit, reimagining it with a belt at the hips instead of the waist, because she believed it would be more flattering that way. The outfit became more sleek, fashionable, and iconic with just a minor tweak. That choice went down in television lore. As a testament to her impact on the program and popular culture at large, the Smithsonian Institution now has her original Catwoman outfit. Julie Newmar was the only actress to truly embody Catwoman. Her performance was unparalleled. Her training as a dancer gave her the visual cues to heighten Catwoman's air of mystique, menace, and strength. She wasn't just acting out lines, she was making things happen. When Catwoman attempted to woo Batman in the 1960s Batman series, it became one of the most iconic moments of the show. While she teased him and skillfully maneuvered about him, she was actually plotting to poison him with her scent. She walked, glanced, and adjusted her position with pinpoint precision. She had trained for years to move fluidly and hit every mark without thinking, so there was no need for rehearsals. Because of how natural and unforced it was, the scenario stuck in people's minds. Another scenario has her slipping over a balcony and telling Batman she wanted to marry him as a ruse to make him jealous of Robin. The entire scenario had to be shot in only 3 minutes, a daring and precise shot. Still, she managed it with ease, elevating plain motions to the level of amusing, sensual, and memorable. Her portrayal of Catwoman went down in history books. Having said that, there were difficulties in executing the role. She looked stunning in a black lurex catsuit, but the tightly fitting garment was painful and restricted her movement. Despite the occasional pain caused by her hefty metal claws, she never let it deter her. For the sake of making the role feel more real, she did a lot of her own stunts. She cherished every second of her screen time, no matter how challenging. The third season did not include Newmar's comeback, despite the spectacular performance she gave. Mure El Co was the name of the picture to which she had previously committed. Because of her choice, she lost the opportunity to continue portraying Catwoman, even though she had no idea the film would never be completed. Eartha Kitt, who had her own distinct flair, was subsequently cast in the role. The life of Julie Newmar was a tapestry of love, grief, and strength. She relocated to Fort Worth, Texas after marrying attorney J. Holt Smith in 1977. They had hoped to have a family, but the ordeal was devastating. The fragility of life was brought home to Julie by her 3 miscarriages. John Jewel Smith was born to her in 1981, when she was 48 years old. His appearance felt miraculous after everything she had gone through. Everything changed when I became a mother. John had Down syndrome at birth, and meningitis 3 years later rendered him deaf. Even if things were tougher, Julie never considered her kid a burden. She credited him with teaching her the value of unconditional love and helping her see special needs children for what they truly are, gifts, not limitations. She was very pleased of John since she fostered his imagination and believed in his artistic abilities. He went on to have his work included in shows. Though it tested her marriage, raising John was an overwhelmingly rewarding experience. Just 3 years after John was born, in 1984, Julie and J. Holt Smith filed for a divorce due to the immense responsibility that comes with caring for a child with special needs. In spite of this, Julie was unbelievably committed to her kid, sacrificing her profession to be the most exceptional mother she could be. Julie had another tragic loss long before John came into our world. Peter Newmar, her younger brother, was killed in a skiing accident in 1962 when he was 30 years old. His untimely demise shocked his loved ones, who had no warning of his impending passing. The lively, attractive, and charming Peter was the object of Julie's adoration. John, her elder brother, and someone who had always been there for her, felt the weight of her loss just as much as she did. While Julie was already a Hollywood star thanks to roles in 7 Brides for 7 Brothers and Others, she was about to play her breakout role as Catwoman on the Batman series. She never got over the loss of Peter, no matter how successful she became. A major figure in her career, her brother John saw her potential in the part of Catwoman and pushed her to play it. No matter how high or low their lives went, their friendship never wavered. Julie Newmar's acting chops were worlds apart from her role as Catwoman on the Batman TV series of the 1960s. She possessed exceptional marketing skills, had an eye for style, and was an innovator who revolutionized communities through her real estate investments. In real life, she was always planning forward and coming up with new ideas, not only portraying a role on TV. Her revolutionary concept revolutionized the underwear business in the 1970s. She pondered the point of wearing undergarments that hid rather than accentuated a woman's contours after seeing that the majority of pantyhose did the opposite. She aspired for a figure-flattering style that bolstered a woman's self-esteem. The first patent she received in 1977 was for an invention she dubbed cheeky derriere relief. It had a shaping band that extended from the crotch to the waistband and fit snugly between the buttocks to give the wearer a more defined figure. A basic yet astute plan, that was it. Using a combination of nylon and lycra, her second invention enhanced the first by making sure the pantyhose maintained their support and comfort even after being washed several times. Shortly after, she debuted her brand, Newmar, which was based on her own name, and began advertising it heavily. She immortalized her pantyhose in an unforgettable 1977 interview with People magazine, when she famously said, "Make your derriere look like an apple instead of a ham sandwich." That one line became an identifier for the company. Her innovations extended beyond pantyhose, though. She drew inspiration from Marilyn Monroe's carefree manner and created a bra with concealed straps. She yearned for delicate undergarments that would complement her wardrobe without drawing attention to themselves. She was gifted in more than just the fashion industry. She decided to try her hand at real estate in the 1980s, a completely new field. When others failed to see promise, she did. She devoted herself to improving entire communities rather than acquiring homes with the intention of reselling them. Newmar saw the potential, history, and allure of failing areas in Los Angeles, such as La Brea Avenue and Fairfax Avenue. She preserved the original beauty of historic buildings while adapting them for modern living by restoring them instead of knocking them down. A neighborhood, in her view, should retain its identity even as it evolves. In addition to increasing property prices, her work brought life and warmth to these places. A lengthy and tumultuous animosity also existed between Julie Newmar and Jim Belushi, the original Catwoman from the Batman series of the 1960s. An argument that began as a minor disagreement over noise and property quickly turned into a protracted court struggle. Known for his appearance on According to Jim, Belushi accused Newmar of attempting to force him to leave the neighborhood. Her actions, he said, included destroying his fence, messing with his landscaping, and spreading rumors about him. In addition to annoying him, he said she listened to loud music and spied on his family. But Newmar had her own version of events. She blamed Belushi, saying that she could never rest at home due to his continual noise and wild parties. She blamed him for alterations he made to the property that obscured her view of the sky, and she went so far as to purchase earplugs used for air traffic controllers in an effort to drown out the noise. As time went on, the neighbors began to take sides, with some perceiving Newmar as strange and others as a bully and Belushi. When Belushi sued her in 2004 for $4 million, claiming harassment, slander, and vandalism, the situation escalated rapidly. The court battle went on for months, with neither side making any progress. Belushi's counsel said the matter was too large to resolve amicably, while Newmar's attorney advocated mediation. Suddenly, in 2006, they made the shocking announcement that the struggle had ended. In an unexpected turn of events, Belushi decided not to pursue legal action, and Newmar even appeared as a guest on According to Jim. It was an unusual method to conclude a contentious conflict, and their fight continued to be one of the most peculiar neighbor conflicts in Hollywood, long after the smoke cleared. However, an even darker tale lurked in Newmar's background. She had a terrible experience early in her career while studying at the Actors Studio, a school renowned for its rigorous method acting approaches. When the kids were emotionally exhausted during a practice, her scene partner assaulted her. She chose to remain mute in the face of such surprising and extremely disturbing news. Actors, particularly women, did not feel comfortable discussing their traumatic experiences in the early days of Hollywood. Accusations of abuse or harassment were taboo topics in the 60s and 70s, when scandals could destroy careers for actors regardless of whether they were the victims. When Newmar was hurt, she bottled it up, just like so many others. But this didn't stop her from pressing on. Her iconic portrayal as Catwoman catapulted her to stardom. She played strong, self-assured characters on television, but she had seen the shadow side of Hollywood's underbelly. It was a nostalgic moment when Julie Newmar returned as Catwoman in Batman: Return of the Caped Crusaders. She was reunited with Burt Ward and Adam West in the animated picture that was released on October 10, 2016. As Catwoman, the Joker, Penguin, and Riddler conspired to steal the replication ray, it harkened back to the carefree spirit of the Batman TV series from the 1960s. Despite how good the idea seemed, Catwoman was really after Batman's buddies, so she devised a bat-themed gadget to manipulate him. Nevertheless, events took a surprising turn when the other criminals abandoned her upon discovering her lingering affections for Batman. Everything that viewers liked about the original series was included in the film adaptation, including the vivid visuals, the over-the-top action sequences, and Batman's hilarious one-liners. On October 6th, it had its debut at New York Comic Con. On October 11th, it was released digitally. On November 1st, DVD and Blu-ray copies were released. Its faithfulness to the original series ethos was lauded by both fans and reviewers. The role of Catwoman, played by Newmar, was iconic even after all these years. She brought the role to life with her charisma, humor, and the perfect amount of naughtiness. Her performance in the film paved the way for the 2017 sequel, Batman vs. Two-Face. It was Adam West's last appearance as Batman, and he tragically passed away before its publication. In her glowing review, Newmar gushed about her joy in returning to the character and passing the torch to a younger audience as Catwoman. She had an impact that went well beyond Batman. To Wong Fu, thanks for everything, a 1995 film that paid unexpected respect to her legacy, included her. Wesley Snipes, Patrick Swayze, and John Leguizamo starred as three drag queens in the road trip comedy Julie Newmar. The protagonist kept a signed photo of Newmar as a source of motivation throughout the film, and it was from this photo that the title was derived. In the last scene, she surprised everyone by making an appearance as herself, acclaiming Chichi Rodriguez as Drag Queen of the Year. It was more than simply a light-hearted moment. Her arrival symbolized a bridge between the glamorous world of Hollywood and the drag community during an era when LGBTQ+ presence in mainstream cinema was scarce. Wong Fu, I am much appreciated for everything. For 2 weeks, Julie Newmar topped the North American box office and made $47.8 million globally. And most crucially, it paved the way for other media to follow suit in praising individuality in cinema and television. Never in her life did Newmar allow herself to be defined by a job. As she continued to engage with followers of all ages, she eagerly took advantage of new chances. She continues to share her life tales and insights on social media, even though she is in her 90s. She engages with followers personally, replying to comments and providing words of support, unlike many celebrities who depend on a crew to manage their accounts. She and her spouse, John, reside in Brentwood, and she frequently gives insights into their lives there. One of her biggest interests now is gardening, and she often shares images of her garden on social media, showing off its beautiful flowers and verdant foliage. She inspires and motivates others by being active and happy while dealing with Charcot-Marie tooth disease, an illness that affects the nerves and muscles.